Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling, and it's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday morning, July 20th, and it'll be posted live on Sunday, July 21st. I mention that because that creates kind of a 24-hour news media lag, where sometimes things will happen right after we record the show. And so we'll usually catch up with those with like pop-up videos during the week. So this show will be actually deployed and made public once it goes through post-production editing on Sunday, July 21st, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time zone. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. For those that need to or like to reach me for a session, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look at the book a session tab, very straightforward. And if you'd like to become a member of our platinum membership group, it's very easy to do. It gives you access to hundreds of videos in the archive, as well as live streaming events on Fridays at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time zone. You'll see the join button on the front page of our YouTube channel, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. So that gets all kind of the housekeeping out of the way. Also, it's always appreciated if you like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. All those things are greatly appreciated. I thought, we're going through some very fast news cycles, as you know, and there are about six major topics I wanted to touch on at the beginning of the show before we get into answering all the questions real time. And by the way, as a footnote, all the questions that we answer on these shows are come off of our community board. Requests go out on Mondays. They shut down roughly Wednesday night, Pacific time zone. And then my wife does go through them, selects a batch of questions out of the 400 and something questions. Today, I think we have something like, if I'm looking at 65 questions to answer. But I want to go through six kind of major topics at the front end of the show, which normally would have been a pop-up video, but I'll put it all together here for ease of scheduling, just to get it all into one show. The first topic I wanted to highlight is that, as I predicted years ago, my team angels and guides predicted that 45 would be the actual GOP nominee. He would make the convention, he'd make the debates. And so we've all seen that happen as a result of this week. My guides also said Nikki Haley would not be part of the ticket, would not be a VP. There wouldn't be a female necessarily on the GOP ticket. So all that stuff is come true, and that he wouldn't die or have a stroke or be taken out. So, a lot of times I like to rely on predictions that are done years in advance, because my team actually reads real time from the Akashic records. And so it's certainly based on energy at the time. It's really coming out of the Akashic records. So having said that, I just want to reinforce the fact that, we're seeing the GOP nominee as 45. He made it through the convention. He's now the firm elected GOP presidential candidate. Number two, the recent, RNC convention reinforced kind of in the final speech that really 45 is all centered on himself, not on America. He avoided anything and all the topics across the convention, talking about the 900-page Project 2025 document. Really forms the basis of the entire GOP platform, and really kind of removes the rights of a lot of individuals, humanity across the spectrum. Very dangerous document. Everybody's welcome to look at it and read it out there. He rambled for nearly 90 minutes, kind of in his remarks as he accepted the nomination, and but he continued to lay out racist claims of borders and migrants and immigrants and stealing the country. So a lot of dangerous rhetoric there, but never really got into talking about abortion rights, healthcare, Social Security, our responsibility around the world with like NATO. So, it's a lot of more of the same. So I'm saying this, my guides don't want everybody to be worried out there. We're seeing a lot more of the same. And, I do see that in the end, this will all come to pass, and that the larger voting bloc in the public will understand kind of all the threats to democracy going on. Number three, it's important to talk about the worldwide IT Microsoft computer platform outage that was fundamentally created by CrowdStrike, which is a company that services Fortune 500 companies, protecting with some malware and malicious software, that kind of a thing. It actually, took down many companies worldwide. A lot of airlines, the Delta Airlines, even Disneyland Paris, AWS, Amazon even had problems. So the problem is being corrected manually. But what I want everybody to know is that there were some questions that came in that people worried about. This is going to be like a worldwide problem in that there's some malicious offshore entity that's creating this havoc. Now, this is human error, is what my guides have told me. It's human error. And actually, the good news is that this will actually now create new process and procedures going forward. So you won't see this kind of a software update creating widespread worldwide havoc. They're actually going to roll it out in cycles and scales. They're going to do some things here that are going to prevent any kind of a worldwide outage again. So it's always good that kind of comes out of everything. Number four, it's worth noting, I still see President Biden and Kamala Harris being the Democratic Party nominees, just as predicted again several years ago, as my team angels and guides and I predicted. It's worth noting that I also saw in the January 2024 psychic predictions, which you can look back in our archive, January of this year, there'll be significant Democratic Party discussions around the composition of the ticket. And I didn't understand in January what that was all about. But we've seen, of course, a lot of discussions going on in the press around the composition of the ticket. Is Biden in the front of the ticket? Is Kamala Harris in the front of the ticket? But anyway, it's going to move ahead. Biden will be the elected president in a second term, and Kamala Harris will be on the ticket. And so all this is moving forward just kind of as predicted. But again, I didn't understand what all the discussions were about regarding the composition of the ticket at the time. We now know, how that all played out. Number five, um, there's a lot of individuals right now across politics and in industry and entertainment industry calling for Biden to step down. I think right now, as of today, there's like 30 House Democrats and 4 Senate Democrats, along with like business leaders and high income, high net worth donors that are threatening all this. It's important to look at, by the way, that a lot of the individuals that are calling for him to step down have actually intentions that rely kind of on their large money donations and who's supporting them and how they're getting pushed. You're seeing a lot of individuals pushing for Biden to step down based on their own internal personal concerns. So, taking a higher level view at this, like with my angels and guides, there is a massive amount of the population, the voting public, that is going to vote for Biden and for Harris, the Biden-Harris ticket. And you have to take in context. A lot of people are watching their own backyard here, and you're seeing a lot kind of like selfish motivation coming out. So please keep all that in mind. I do see, President Biden's going to push through all of it. He's going to make it through the election. It's going to serve a full second term. So, not to worry. But I thought it was necessary to kind of talk about all the people asking him to step down. I do see a lot of it is selfish intent, based on large money donors, trying to leverage and people trying to protect their own backyard. So now please keep that in mind. There were over 14 million people that voted in the Democratic primaries for Biden. So that'll keep moving forward. And number six, the Paris Olympics are coming up. They're actually starting Friday of this week, July 26, 2024. In my predictions, January 2024, my team laid out the fact that I was very concerned about a terrorist event in Paris in the summer. And I didn't know anything. I really didn't follow the news at that time. I didn't know that the Paris Olympics were coming up in summer. So I want everybody to be careful and take extra precautions. This is for everybody that's listening out there. My guides and angels only bring up information to try to help humanity. But I am concerned about a terrorist event in Paris around the Olympics here. So everybody, please take precautions and be careful in all outdoor spaces. So that kind of concludes the top 6 kind of what would have been kind of a pop-up video, but we'll put it inside the front end of this this Sunday video, if you will. So moving forward now with the questions from the show in the countdown. So we'll start off with question 65 and we count all the way down to 1. So 65 is Sterling. Can you tell us if Aileen Cannon will be permanently removed from the bench based on her recent discussions or decisions? I'm sorry. Yes, I do. I've always seen this, and looks like it'll happen either the tail end of this year or as we get into the very beginning of next year. But it looks like with the 11th Circuit Court, I always saw that Smith, along with a lot of other judges, would say like it's almost like three strikes you're out, removing her from the case based on the recent decisions she made. Was saying I think the special counsel constitutionally should have never been assigned to the Docs case. Obviously, that's a fallacy. That's not true. But yeah, I do see her getting permanently removed. 64, will the current Medicare and Social Security agencies be affected by the Supreme Court reversal of the Chevron doctrine? This reversal now allows only judges to decide how federal agencies can be managed to the detriment of retirees. You know, I do see this Chevron doctrine, and I read on this many times on this show, but the overturning is going to cause a lot of havoc, and it will cause problems like with the HHS, Health and Human Services ability to kind of render decisions about medical coverage. This is going to be a little bit of a chaotic mess until the year 2026, when the Chevron doctrine gets reversed or put back in place again, giving kind of overall federal authorities the ability, instead of kind of moving it out to individual like self-interested organizations. So it's gonna be a little bit of a mess here, affecting things like Health and Human Services and Social Security. It's not going to be a massive issue, but it's going to be something everybody's going to have to really wrestle with, and won't get turned around until 2026. 63. Hello, Sterling and team. As of this date, no medical report has been provided by the hospital or physician on 45's true condition. After the assassination attempt, did a bullet really graze 45's ear? It looks like shrapnel from something nearby to me, is what they're showing me. So I don't know in terms of the ballistics of the bullet and where it went through, but it looks like it's kind of a shrapnel injury of some kind, is what my team's telling me. And they will eventually release a report, but looks like it may be after the election. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to kind of be buried by 45 and his team. 62. Thank you, Sterling and team. Should we be worried about Elon Musk turning into some kind of insane supervillain? He's always been a factor in our culture, right? So he actually affects a lot of different technology and things going on there. Um, I really think that it's going to his effect on the overall economy in the world is going to start to subside within about 10 years. So it's like by the year 2034. Doesn't mean it won't be creating havoc and causing issues and around certain industries and technologies. But for some reason, around 2034, almost 10 years out, looks like it starts to subside, like he goes away, starts to focus on different things. And a lot of the companies he's involved in start to have some difficulties. So it's going to be a factor for a while here. 61. So I think the question was, do we have to worry about him turning into a supervillain? No, but he's going to be characteristically kind of a thorn in the side of a lot of industries and companies and even political races. 61. Hi, Sterling. Will the documents case be allowed to go forward despite Aileen Cannon dismissing it? Yes, but only after a new judge is assigned to it. That looks to me like it's going to be right at around either the end of this year or 2025 early, when a new judge is assigned, then the documents case will move forward around 45. 60. Hi, Sterling and team. Where do the extraterrestrial drones that are shaped like squids and jellyfish come from? What is their purpose? They're all part of motherships that are deployed. They're actually drones, drone technology that comes around to do surveillance for various reasons, military bases, nuclear sites, water-based bases. So they're actually deployed by over a dozen different extraterrestrial species, very common technology, but there's a drone technology used for surveillance. 59, Sterling and team. The media and stock markets are giving the election win 70% to 45 in light of his multiple recent wins. Do your guys have insights on the possibility that all of this is setting the stage for a more shocking and dramatic Biden win and Democrats winning the House and Senate? Well, it still appears, that all polls are very unreliable, very small sample sizes, don't represent the massive voting public. As I said, I think collectively 180 million people came out to vote in the last presidential election. I saw something closer to like 220 million coming out, collectively coming out to vote in the election. Remember, there's over like 320 million people in the US. Not everybody comes out and votes. But anyway, massive turnout, and it still looks like a big Biden and Harris win, as well as getting the House and the Senate. Now, they're going to be small margins. They're going to be wins for the Democrats. I wish I could tell you it was going to be an avalanche, but it's still going to be, it's a hard-fought battle. There'll be wins by some slim margins. But anyway, it looks like that's going to be how it rolls out. 58. Sterling and team, when I go to bed at night, right before falling asleep, I sometimes have images of different people who I do not know show up. They seem to be dressed in clothes of this era and other eras. Is this just my imagination? For different people, it means different things. But for you, whoever asked this question, this is part of like it's part of your imagination. So many times, if you're seeing things in a dream that resonate with you, these are like places you saw in prior lifetimes, these are individuals you knew, it resonates with you a different way. Um, these are people you may have run into in prior lifetime, but it looks like it's a lot of imagination. But my team's saying it's not your angels, guides, or part of your extended spiritual family. A little bit of imagination here. Remember, it's different for everybody, but for this person asked the question, that those aren't people you knew in prior lifetimes, for example, or your guides and angels in that dream. 57. Hi, Sterling and team. When we ask for signs or when chatting to a loved one in spirit, is it common to see a person that resembles your loved one? I ask for a sign and notice the person walking by that looks similar to my aunt. Yes, loved ones can respond to us in that way. It's a very common occurrence. I like to talk about these things on this channel. Many times, somebody will be longing for their father or their grandfather, and almost be like in a state of tears or emotional, distress. And somebody walks across in the supermarket, looks exactly like their father or like their grandfather. In your case, this is very, very common occurrence. This is a way that loved ones try to interact with us on the other side. Now, that's a real person that's walking in your path. But your loved one on the other side is able to help manipulate that, kind of push that person into your view at the right time. It's all part of a skill from the other side. So, yes, when you're asking to see somebody in distress, you can easily see somebody that looks like your long lost spouse, grandparent, father, whatnot. It's also interesting as a footnote to note that sometimes I've seen people in tremendous grief. Um, let's say they lost a son, for example, named Michael, and they're in tremendous grief, and they're driving down the street, and then all of a sudden a moving truck will pass, in front of them and says, "Michael's moving in storage." That's another way that loved ones will try to get out in front of you and say, "We hear you, we're around you." So look for the signs; they're very important. 56 in the countdown. Sterling and team, will Project 2025 somehow be implemented even if 45 is not elected? We know parts of Project 2025 have already been erected, if you will. Look at what's happening with the Supreme Court and school boards, those kinds of things. Now, the entire Project 2025 plan is not going to get implemented. GOP 45 is not going to win the presidential election. But yeah, the Project 2025 playbook has been evolved over many years through a lot of GOP, a lot of presidential Republican presidents, if you will. So it's an evolving doctrine, a document, but the massive implementation of that 900-page document, taking away women's reproductive rights and taking migrants, immigrants, whatnot, setting up a prison facility, none of that is going to take place. 55. Hi, Sterling and team. A cave or hole was just found in the moon. It is a natural formation, is it a natural formation or was it created by ETs? Will it be used by humans to colonize the moon? It's actually created by extraterrestrials, I'm being told, and actually was used millions of years ago to kind of transcend, move throughout kind of the moon. And actually, humanity, when they start habitating the moon, with next number of years, even decade here, will actually utilize those tunnels for protection, for moving around the moon. Yeah, but it was created by extraterrestrials. 54. Will it be shown that the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation were financed in part with Russian money? Yes, it's actually already common knowledge that this is the case. So a lot of offshore funding. You look at the way Russia and Putin are endorsing 45 and JD Vance. But yeah, a lot of the funding behind Heritage Foundation and Federal Society is coming from a number of offshore groups, including Russia. 53, Sterling, what can we do to get the media to cover the Epstein documents and 45's involvement with Epstein? Proactively call into media shows, put up blog posts, get out there in the mass media wherever you're comfortable, and allow people to kind of focus on it more. It's coming. It's going to be a groundswell up from the media, but you're going to hear a lot more about the Epstein documents released. I think it was by the a Supreme Court judge in Florida, if I remember correctly here. 52, based on, is it Paiute beliefs, Paiute, Pout or Paiute beliefs, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, an ancient tribe in Nevada. There's a tale of red-haired giants, 8 to 19 feet tall, known as the Ka, who settled in the Americas from a faraway island thousands of years ago. What do your guides say about these giants? Yeah, it's actually all true. But what's interesting is that, see, they're referring to the giants as, let me get it here, known as the Ka, and then there was an Indian tribe, I'm sorry, Paiute. You know what's interesting? It's all true, but like the extinction or extermination of the Ka took place because of the tribe that was around. So there's some sort of a conflict going on at that time. But it is all true, and it was like tribes fought wars with these Ka, and that led to their extinction. 51, Sterling, what will happen to the Senate seat of Bob Menendez after his being found guilty of bribery? It looks like it'll be replaced by another Democrat to me. And I know I read on this over the months and years that I saw that Menendez would be ousted and found guilty, but looks like he'll be replaced and that looks like special like New Jersey governor, I forget his name now, will make a temporary kind of assignment of somebody. It looks like in the end it'll be a Democrat that takes that seat. 50. When will Biden's rent increase caps of 5% per year on landlords with more than 50 units be effective on the corporate entities that have bought up the majority of affordable housing in the US? Looks like, this Biden proposal won't be passed because the division in Congress right now. But looks like as you get out into 2025, maybe in the middle of 2025, this 5% cap will go into landlords owning more than 50 units. I think that's where the cutoff is. 49. Hi, Sterling. Will Judge Aileen Cannon's ruling on the documents case be overturned on appeal? We touched on this a little bit. Yes, it'll actually be overturned. I'm sorry. So I'm going back to my team here. She's going to get replaced. The trial will go forward. It will end in a conviction. Yeah. So in that case, yeah, it'll be overturned on appeal by the government. Yes. 48. Hi, Sterling. Have you ever met an extraterrestrial in your current life? Well, yeah, interesting enough, I work with them on a daily basis, and I see them as apparitions. There's really hundreds of species that come around. Um, I'll tell you an interesting story. I've even run to them in very odd places, like the dentist office. Months and months ago, I was going through some dental surgery and had a tall Palladian visit me and with me in the dental office. What's interesting is I'll take kind of an inside baseball story here. I kind of looked up out of the dentist chair and I saw them standing there and I said, oh, that's kind of odd. I came home and I told my wife, Linda, I said, kind of odd, but I was in the dentist office and, one of the Palladians is like 8, 9 feet tall, was standing in the room with me. And my wife said, I sent one of them to you just to support you. So really kind of a cross correlation there, it was kind of funny that she said, I asked one of them to go over there and they were in the dental office room with me. And I know one else could see them. I could see them, but yeah, kind of an interesting story. Yeah. 47. Hello, Sterling and team. Does the one source, one force have consciousness and intelligence, or is it pure energy? Complete consciousness, power, intelligence, omnipresent, omnipotent, powerful everywhere, not just energy. It's a lot more than energy. It is a complete consciousness that's driven the entire universe. 46. What effect will the Elon Musk donation of $45 million a month have on the 45 campaign? I'm not sure this is all true. So yeah, my team's saying there's some sort of conflicting information going on here. I'm not sure if that's a true number. I do believe that Elon Musk is making contributions to a lot of right-wing political campaigns. I'm not, my team's saying there's something off here with the $45 million. What was this, a month? Um, I don't see that number. I see other contributors to 45's campaign, but I don't see that $45 million a month number. So something's off there. It's either it's much less, something of that nature. 45, hi Sterling. Will CRISPR gene editing technology cure autism? And if so, how soon? I get all the time, and I think it's true. You can look this up in the press that scientists have made great progress using CRISPR gene editing technology and affecting autism in mice right now. So they've already had some good studies going on and identifying the genes in mice. You got a good decade to go here. It could be 10, 12 years before then vaccines, medications come out to affect autism. But good progress in reversing the effects, starting to reverse the effects of autism. And then with cures, kind of, there'll be vaccine and even some pills. A good 10 to 12 years here, but progress is being made. 44, the Skinwalker Ranch series on History Channel has a group of scientists, engineers, and investigators performing experiments to discover the mystery of the ranch. What do the ETs think about rockets and drones flying around to obtain data? Are these objects interfering with their flight passage, or are they sabotaging their experiments? And what is in the mesa? I get a lot of extraterrestrial groups that utilize that portal that's right around Skinwalker Ranch. They find it very amusing. Remember, they're moving in and out of different dimensions that move faster than the speed of light. So really no effect. I have to tell you, they find it amusing is what's going on here, because it's almost like tapping on the side of a ship, a large, cruise ship. You're really not, you don't see anything that's inside the ship, so it's very, I gotta tell you, they find it amusing every time I look at that. Now, there is a real portal there. There's a real extraterrestrial ship buried in the mesa. It's a nuclear energy source that in some way supports the portal that's on that ranch that's a several hundred feet high in dimension. Many portals around other places on Earth, but yeah, I mean, they find it amusing. 43. Will Ohio ever be a blue state again? Yes, but I'm getting like not until the next presidential election, like 2028, is when, let's say, Ohio itself will turn blue. Even though I saw that 2028 presidential election going to Republicans. But it looks like if you're asking about Ohio, looks like Ohio will turn blue by the next presidential election, 2028. 42, will CRISPR gene editing technology or any other technology be available to restore brain memory? When will it be available and affordable? I mean, this is a little further out, but it looks to me like we've got about 15 to 20 years to go here before like an over-the-counter medication that will really start to restore, talk about brain memory. Now, there's a lot of incremental things that are going to happen before then that'll help supplement brain memory. But as far as really restoring, let's say, brain capacity, being able to rewind it effectively 30, 40 years from where you are, those medications look to me like they're about 15 to 20 years out. 41. Hello, Sterling and team. At the RNC convention, JD Vance publicly stated that he would not certify the election November if Biden won and 45 lost. Will there be delays similar to the last time? There are going to be delays, and it's going to be ongoing for months. And now they're going to certify the election within a month or two, something of that nature. It might be a little faster. And then there's going to be challenges. And yes, the Republican Party is going to challenge it like crazy. And that's going to go on for many months. But it's kind of going to go the way it did last time. A lot of people fighting the election results, bringing cases. None of the cases were successful the last time at proving that, the 2020 election was in any way compromised. So it'll be a lot of the same kind of noise that we saw last time. 40. What is going to happen with the January 6th DC case with Judge Chutkan? Do you see hearings beginning before the election with information coming out? Uh, Yes, and just as predicted in the immunity decision, we've done predictions. My angels and guides have predictions about the immunity decision. First off, coming down kind of a three-tier approach. The first tier was here's everything the president is allowed to do as president. Second tier was here he's allowed not to do because it's outside the scope of the presidency. And then the third tier was handing cases back down to lower courts to determine what a president was immune from, had immunity or no immunity. So the case we're going to see coming up here with Judge Chutkan is part of that third tier, going to a case of trial. And I think the question is, will it start before the election? I'm not so sure it's going to start before the election, although my team's actually a little bit of disagreement on this one. Looks like something may start. So I'm not sure if they lay out the plans to start that pre mini trial. Let's call it a mini trial. I want to use the right terminology here to determine whether the charges the president's immune from or not immune from. And then that allows the case to go forward. There's something is going to start before the election. I'm not sure that whole mini trial is going to get completed, though. I mean, before the election is a key. 39. Thank you, Sterling and team. Will the big Democratic donors continue their support for Joe Biden? I see something like 50% of them, about half of them dropping away, but not to worry. There's a lot of independent individual contributors to, let's say, the Biden-Harris campaign. They're going to keep it all moving forward. So not to worry. Remember, everybody's showing their true stripes right now, cowardness. Everybody's, letting the almighty dollar dictate them, the large donors trying to leverage a lot of entertainment, business leaders, political people. But yeah, it looks like a lot of the smaller donors are going to come through in waves and help. 38. My 34-year-old son recently shared with me that one morning while walking to high school, he saw a large metal structure with lights hovering over the soccer field. He stared at it for a while and then it disappeared. He said he never mentioned this to anyone. What did he see? What I get is he saw an ET surveillance ship. There's a lot of them around here right now. So there's an extraterrestrial, what they call drone ship doing surveillance. 37, will the Supreme Court uphold the results of the election when Biden wins? Yes, it's going to take, a number of months to make all this happen. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of, people, complaining and bringing litigation, and Supreme Court's going to get involved to some extent. But the election results will stand, and Biden will be the president. 36. Hello, Sterling and team. Could you please explain the entity known as the Hat Men? I've encountered them many times in my lifetime. They're guardians. They are benevolent beings that are there to warn you about upcoming circumstances or something going on. So they're trying to get your attention, say, be aware, take extra precaution, something here. They're trying to keep you on your course. So seeing the Hat Men, very, very common experience for a lot of people. 35. Will Jack Smith get a new trial for the documents case? Yeah, I think we were just talking about this. Yeah, I mean, once the alien canon gets replaced, there'll be a new trial coming up. Yes. 34. Sterling, will history convey former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele, who ran the MI6 Russia desk and formed the Steele dossier as a hero? Will the contents of the dossier be proven entirely true? Yes, within a few years. Within a few years here, Christopher Steele will be vindicated, prove a lot of information was in that Steele dossier was true, and he will be regarded as a hero. 33. Does JD Vance have some kind of dirt on 45? Did he blackmail him to get the VP nomination? I see that it was not just JD Vance, but it was like other world leaders that pushed that decision. So, I think we've already seen Russia and Putin coming out endorsing the 45 JD Vance ticket. So it's not so much dirt that JD has on 45. It's more like, I see more like leverage of other world dictators pushing that ticket. 32, will there be a time in technology when the internet is hack-proof, when the dark web is gone and our data is safe? Well, no, in fact, this will never happen completely because technology is always evolving. So it's always a race between the good guys and the bad guys. As good guys develop new technology, good guys, good women, so to speak, there'll always be a race on the other side to try to counteract it. So it's going to get harder and harder to hack as we go forward here in time with the use of artificial intelligence and blockchain, distributed ledger technology. But never going to be completely hack proof. And but there'll be more and more ways to kind of protect what's going on with our data. 31, Sterling and team is 45 in the Epstein papers, and did he participate in bad behavior, and will that be made public? Yes to all the above. Okay. Yes, it's all coming out very, very shortly here. 30, when will the war in Ukraine come to an end and how? I see a massive influx of new weapons technology, aerial assault, and not just the US, but a number of world nations, really with a massive influx of weapons is actually going to turn the tide. It's going to happen very, very soon here. I think that a lot of this firepower is starting to come in right now, but as we get towards the end of this year, it looks to me like the war starts to stall out, and then there's a need then to try to come to some resolution between all the powers, including Russia. But it's that massive influx of weapons that really pushes the needle forward. And it has the Russians starting to pull back. 29. Hello, Sterling and team. I'm 52, was very recently diagnosed with lung cancer, and find myself feeling lost and frightened to what's next and how to proceed positively. Can you please steer me in the right direction of where I should go or what I should do? Or is this simply my predetermined exit point with all its accompanying lessons, and I must face the music with grace and get used to the idea that I will no longer be on this earth within the next 5 years? First off, I see you navigating this medical condition successfully. So this is a challenge. This is whenever I see major medical events for any of us, and we all have them, they're actually in part resets in our life cycle. It's a time you're supposed to take back, take stock, determine where you're going in life. So, everybody's on what they call 7 or 10-year life cycles, by the way. It looks to me like you're going actually through what's they call a life cycle change. So let's say like you said right now you're 52. It's interesting. You're right in the middle of a cycle then. But this in this cycle, looks like your 7-year cycle. That would mean you're on the age 49 to 56 life cycle. And every life cycle has major important lessons. Looks like the big lesson for you is how to kind of overcome this. I do feel you're going to form some new life skills of how to center yourself, ground yourself, work with your guides and angels. Then this traumatic experience will form a lesson you're going to share with a lot of other people. So there's good coming out of this, but I don't see you leaving the planet anytime soon. I do see you working very diligently spiritually through this, in a way that affects your health, affects the people around you, even like miraculous recovery that doctors will be surprised about. 28. Dear Sterling and team, will Jack Rose of Nevada, John Tester of Montana, Brown of Ohio, Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, and Bob Casey of Pennsylvania win Senate seats November election? They're all running as Democrats. There's got Nevada, Montana, Ohio, Wisconsin. Yeah, I get they're all going to win their seats. So congratulations to them in advance. 27, you said humans will live longer thanks to medical advances in the coming decades. Will people who are now in their 50s, 60s, 70s have the possibility of living over 100 as well due to these advances? So everyone's going to benefit from the new drugs and medications coming out. So it'll be an incremental effect as all these new medications, a lot of them gene editing based CRISPR technology, comes into science and health. Incrementally, people that would have died or had limitations of their life experience will get better. So there'll be an incremental increase here. Not everybody in their 50s, 60s will live to 100, but in a couple of decades here, as all these medications roll out, the average life expectancy will increase by about 30 years for most all of humanity. By the way, my team just reminding me, the biggest things that we're going to start overcoming are things like neurological diseases, like Alzheimer's, various forms of cancer, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, also cardiac disease. So a lot of this and pulmonary, lung-based diseases. So yeah, a lot of this is going to contribute to another like 30-year expansion. 26, dear Sterling and team, in the near-death experience or the NDE, some people go to the void for a time. Can you explain what and where the void is? Well, there actually, I look at this all the time. There is no such thing as the void. I think many religions refer to the void as like purgatory or hell or something. You do go through a life review. That's never, by the teams I talk to, the thousands on the other side, the angels and guides, they never refer to the life review as a void. But I know many religions refer to the void as like purgatory. No such thing. So this is something coming out of humanity. And as we all start to emerge into the heaven dimension, when we cross over, you'll see how fast and efficient that process is. As you move through life reviews, you start meeting people you knew in your lifetime. But yeah, my team says actually no such thing as the void per se. 25. Hi, Sterling and team. Several videos ago, you indicated 45 would have a minor medical event before the November 2024 election, but he would be fine and he would go on to lose the election. Was the failed assassination attempt the medical event you referred to previously? Yes, it appears it was. I think because people were saying at the time, I asked my angels and guides, they said he was going to die, have a stroke or something of that nature, and then not make it to the convention, not be the nominee. And my team was saying, yeah, there'll be like a medical event, like a minor medical event, but they'll make it just fine. It does appear that's what we just witnessed. Yes. Uh-huh. 24. Hello, Sterling. Recently, the Furries hacker group hacked the Heritage Foundation internal data systems and released 2 gigabytes of internal think tank data from the Heritage Foundation. Their communication uncovered the IP addresses from several Chinese sources. Is this true? And what are the consequences for the foundation? Yes, I see a large amount of information that was exchanged by offshore entities like China. And yes, it'll be released to the press in the coming months. So yeah, it's all true. Not really a surprise. I see a lot of offshore organizations, China, Russia, and various areas around the world run by dictators that are constantly engaged with these very right-wing organizations, like the Heritage Foundation. 23. Animals are from the angelic realm. That's true. I love all animals. I just can't understand why some people don't. Can you tell me why? Not everybody is evolved efficiently, energetically in this lifetime. And that's all part of their learning, their journey, their experience. I have to tell you that it's a very common thing that when individuals are cruel to animals, that is a very low level energetic entity, the person that's here on Earth. And I feel for them. Obviously, animals are wonderful. They are from the angelic realm, not angels. They're all here to teach us lessons of the heart. But that's true. They're not very evolved. As individuals that are cruel to animals are not very highly evolved. 22, hi Sterling and team. Is Putin and Messenger Orban helping 45 with a plan to steal or disrupt the election? Yes, 100%. They are here. They are around the sphere of influence around 45 in the campaign to do whatever they can to disrupt the democratic process. Absolutely. That includes the exchange of information that was on that runway when 45's plane was next to a Russian plane on the runway for quite a while. They were exchanging information wirelessly. 21. Thank you, Sterling and team. My question is, do you or your guides foresee Puerto Rico being hit by a hurricane this season? Yes, I mean, unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that around the October, November timeframe this year looks like a very significant hurricane. Um, yeah, so I'm going to send a lot of love, light, white light prayers to Puerto Rico. Please do every can to prepare. But looks like around the October, November timeframe, there's another significant hurricane coming in. 20. My brother Martin is very ill, caused by dementia, and says he wants to die. He has no quality of life. What can I say to him to help him? I would tell everybody in this condition, encourage them to start communicating real time with their guides and angels. We all have teams of birth angels and guides around us. They will step in and help us dramatically whenever we need it. We're not alone on this journey. We're all here learning life lessons. If you're still on the planet, you're in school. We're all in school. But I would encourage, this is a time when your brother, I think you said your brother Martin, encourage him to start communicating with his angels and guides. Ask for them to reveal messages. We covered this, how to do this in that 5 minute a day homework in the show I did called Talking with Heaven about 3 years ago. A very easy 2 week homework assignment you can do for 5 minutes a day. But I encourage everybody to start communicating with your team because they'll help you validate the lessons you're supposed to learn right now, how you're supposed to work through it. They will help everybody. Your team will help everybody. That's what they're here for. So that's a good way to start and ways to manage the journey going forward. 19, hi Sterling and team. Are illnesses written in our soul contracts, or do we have control over them by eating healthy and staying away from chemicals and food? So everything is written into our life path, but we can certainly control the quality of life. That's where free will interacts with your life path blueprint. And for those who've watched the channel before, you know, they always say that the way free will interacts with your life path in three different areas. It controls the speed you move through your life path, the scale of achievement, and the scope of achievement. So yes, you know, if you choose to eat not healthy in your lifetime, you can slow things down. You have more days in bed sleeping. If you're kind to your body, you have more energy and more exercise to do the things you need to do. It is a way. It doesn't change your life path and the things you're here for, but that's kind of a free will element that controls the speed, scale, and scope at which you move through your life path. So the question is, yeah, illnesses are written into our life path for varying reasons. 18. Hi, Sterling and team. A few years ago, right as I was waking up, I heard a male voice very clearly, very firmly state, "You are majestic." I know without doubt wasn't just hearing things, but can you please tell me what or who it was I heard? It's been bugging me for years. This is one of your male guides, giving you a very constructive, positive, reinforcing message. So, you know, I see people all the time have these experiences. This is wonderful. People are getting more enlightened to the other side. They're hearing their guides and angels much more clearly. That is an encouraging letter, message of endorsement from your team. 17. Hello, Sterling and team. My husband and I live in Michigan on the southern shores of Lake Michigan, have seen several UFOs over the past few years hovering over Lake Michigan. Are the UFOs traveling here to an underwater base, or is there a specific reason they frequent the area? Yes, there's several underwater bases in that area. The government's aware of it. Now, that's why you're seeing that activity. Those bases are very deep underwater. But you know, this is happening around the world. More and more people are observing it now, are talking about it more openly. But I'll tell you that the government is very aware of where these bases are, and they're very aware of that activity. 16. Hi, Sterling and team. Several years ago, I was in a T-bone style collision at an intersection. The car that hit me was lodged into the side of my sizable SUV. It wasn't able to stop and was pushing me towards a compact car that was right at the light and couldn't move. I can still see the look of terror in the driver and passengers' faces. I heard a voice tell me to stay calm, turn the wheel, and hit the gas. I did just that, dislodged the car that hit me, and was able to avoid crushing the other car and its occupants who told me to turn the wheel. This is one of your two birth angels. This is exactly what they do. Whenever you're in a life-threatening incident, almost going towards a near-death experience, they will step in immediately to help you and save your life and even those around you if that's part of the larger plan. It's very common. You know, I talked to a lady a year or two ago that I just relay an experience here. She was going down the road at night, lost control of the car, heading towards a massive tree that would have really killed her. Within an instant before she was getting ready to hit the tree, a woman appeared, which is one of her birth angels she knows now, in the seat next to her and said, "Do you want to go or do you want to stay?" And there was a driver, said, "I want to stay." The angel said, "Then look to your left." And she looked to her left just before the impact, and that saved her life. It was later determined. But this is the way guides, birth angels, interact with you to save your life. I just got a cold chill. That's a message that the universe wants to get out to everybody. We all have birth angels that will help save our life when the time comes. But that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that, whoever asked the question. 15. Hi, Sterling and friends. By November 5th, there will be a surprise on how many red states will turn blue. Oh, sorry. Will there be a surprise on how many red states will turn blue that they're not considered to be swing states? Yes, I see this will be the case, that a lot of states will swing blue. You know, if you just look at the core of what's in Project 2025, that 900-page document, how it's being mapped to the Republican platform, a lot of dangerous things going on there, taking human rights, and I don't want to go through all the details, but it is really worth associating, reading. Many people, many voters around the nation, are going to subscribe to the fact that they want to maintain rights of humanity, democracy, don't want a dictator, want to be part of security on the world stage, like with NATO. Yeah, so I do see a lot of, it'll be a surprise how many red states will start to turn blue. 14, high sterling and team. Since we choose our soul contract, our blueprint, and lessons that we're supposed to learn here, does everyone complete everything on their contract? What happens if we don't fulfill our contract? Well, you always fulfill your life contract. But remember, this is how free will interacts with that life contract. Because remember, not just the speed, but the scale of achievement and the scope of achievement. So, for example, the scale of achievement. While you're here, do you affect the lives of 10 people, 10,000, or 10 million people? Scope. If you're a doctor, do you work on just to say let's say different types of eye surgery, or do you also expand a practice and invent something for cardiac surgery? This is the way that our free will interacts with our life path. So you always complete what you're supposed to, but absolutely the speed, scale, and scope affect kind of the completeness, if you will. I shouldn't say completeness. It's the scale and the scope and then the speed at which you move through your life path. 13, hello, Sterling and team. Will Florida ever get a Democratic governor and or a legislature again? Also, is Ron DeSantis's political career effectively over once his current term as Florida governor is finished? Yeah, yes, I've always seen that Ron DeSantis, his political career, what I call a death spiral, that months and months ago, maybe a year ago now, I always saw his career, political career was on a death spiral. That he wouldn't be a GOP nominee, for example. And it looks like in the next election cycle, whenever that is, he will be replaced. That's what my team's telling me. 12 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. Can you please describe what extraterrestrial disclosure will look like in detail? Will President Biden have a role to play in disclosure? Will there be new jobs created related to working with ETs in some capacity? If so, when? So disclosure has already started to take place with a great deal of world leaders, including Biden. The world will be introduced to hybrids first because hybrids look like Homo sapiens sapiens. They won't be as scary. So you'll be able to introduce to hybrids and what's going on here. There'll be a reintroduction gradually then to extraterrestrial species. There'll be at least a dozen, 12 of them that will make themselves known. They'll get integrated in society in a greater way around world peace, free energy, cold fusion technology, CRISPR technology, gene editing, health. Yeah, all this is coming. So the disclosure is going to roll out with hybrids. Disclosures already started first with a lot of world leaders, including Biden. And all this is coming within the next few years here. 11. What is the potential future of Representative Jasmine Crockett, the Democrat from Texas? I see eventually she's going to be part of the White House team. So she'll actually get a White House role officially. It could be when mid or towards the end of the next Biden term, 2024 to 2028. And it looks like she'll actually have a White House position to me, even as we get into the election cycle. Interesting because it jumps out to like 2032 when I see a female president, a female Democratic president in the White House. So she's going to be around the White House quite a bit, engaged in White House positions. 10. Hi, Sterling and team. Do extraterrestrials exist on a physical plane like humans do, or do they go to the spiritual realm like our souls do, and our bodies expire, we pass over? Uh, well, extraterrestrials can exist multidimensionally. So that's one of the skills they have evolving after millions of years. They can cross over into this dimension, which they do all the time, moving through portals like at Skinwalker Ranch. They can exist in the heaven dimension because I see them all the time around our loved ones on the other side. So extraterrestrials can move interdimensionally. It's very easy for them. 9. Sterling, when visiting a psychic, I slightly opened the door to her office and heard thousands of voices talking all at the same time. It stopped immediately as I opened the door wider. What was that? You were hearing her guides and angels talking with her. So you actually, that's what I call a clairaudient experience. For a second there, you had a really significant clairaudient experience, be able to hear the other side. When you walked in the office, for a reason that kind of turned off as you got around her. 8. Will President Biden be able to appoint new Supreme Court justices in his next term? I do see yes. And I get that he may add three Supreme Court justices in terms of, the total of justices. Some of those all about, there's something like three or four. So replacements plus additions. I got to go back and look at that again. But it looks like in his next term, he will be appointing at least three new Supreme Court justices. Seven, will JD Vance help or hurt 45's campaign? In the end, this is actually going to drag down 45's campaign because, interestingly enough, JD Vance is going to get associated with even more radical ideas and concepts than even 45. 45 will be able to successfully distance himself a little bit from what's going on, like with Project 2025. But JD Vance, for some reason, is going to keep spewing this kind of hatred and the rhetoric that's going on around what's going with Project 2025. But in the end, it's going to drag 45 backwards. So it's interesting. Yeah. And I also don't see loyalty between JD Vance and 45. It looks like JD Vance has a hidden agenda, which is really to make himself eventually president, which he'll never happen. But in that way, he's not going to be loyal to 45. Six, Sterling, after hearing about hybrids, it made me think back to a moment when I believe I may have come across two individuals that stood out. Back in 2002 or 2003, I was out and about with a friend of mine on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles, California. We came across two Asian-looking females shopping around the mall. They stood over 6 feet tall. Their appearance seemed too perfect and almost prosthetic. Everything seemed flawless. Were they hybrids? No, I don't get in this case they were hybrids. I get they just had that physical appearance. In fact, a lot of the hybrids that I associate with or know, they make it they really don't want to be, they don't want to be noticed at all. So it'll be very inconspicuous. And the fact that you would notice all these things, no, they actually were not hybrids. Five. Hello, Sterling and team. Will Melania and Barron Trump accompany 45 when he leaves the U.S.? Will they return to the U.S. when 45 passes? If not, where will they set up residence? I see them that they will move to the Middle East temporarily with 45, but then eventually set up a permanent residence in Europe almost immediately after 45 passes away. So there's a time lag there between 45 goes to the Middle East, tries to hide out a couple of years there, and then eventually Melania and Barron will set up a permanent residence in Europe, is what I'm showing. And I don't see them returning to the U.S. permanently. Four, hi, Sterling and team. Several years ago, I was on the beach when a man approached me. I don't know how I knew he was dangerous, but I absolutely knew this man meant me harm. Just then, a young woman I'd never seen before quickly approached, linked arms with me, and said, "Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you." We walked away, she told me that man was going to harm me. Then she disappeared between two buildings. I never saw her again. Was that just a nice neighbor, or was she one of my birth angels? No, she's actually what's called an earth angel. That wasn't one of your birth angels. Now, birth angels do make appearances. I've seen them in near-death experiences like tragic car accidents, joining paramedics to save your life. In this case, this is what they call an earth angel, and they listen very clearly to the other side. They answer the calls from the universe for help. So this was an earth angel, physical person, but they're very well connected to the other side, and they jumped in to save you from that harmful situation. Three in the countdown. Will Biden be okay during the DNC convention? Yes, I see that Biden will be fine during the Democratic convention. And number two and number one, I always take notes before we start off here. So number two, what do you see coming up for next week? More fallout from the RNC convention and the problem associated with JD Vance as the unlikely VP running mate for 45. Very different methodologies and too extreme for swing voters. So that's something that came out of the convention, the RNC, that is going to drag 45 backwards. More information coming out on the 45 shooter and his detailed plans, plus those that helped him execute the shooting. New price drops in the economy around prices for housing, goods, and services, which is a good thing. I also see new stock market record highs again for the indicators. Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500. So it's new stock market record highs. Biden gets over COVID and back out on the campaign trail. Democrats become more unified behind Biden. I know it doesn't look like it right now, but they're going to start to see a wave shift here. Starting of the Paris Olympics on Friday, July 26th, with related precautions as predicted. We talked about that at the head of the show. Number one on the countdown. Do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep the faith in these times of struggle, and this will build up your endurance for all things in life. So, on that note, that concludes the session being recorded today, Saturday, on the 20th of July, and then deployed and posted on July 21st, Sunday. As always, you need to reach me. Go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the book session tab. I think there's dates available now in February, March, and April of 2025. Again, if you want to join our Platinum membership, the join button is on the front page of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as on the homepage of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Want to send everybody tremendous goodwill and a large amount of loving light and energy to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.